Coming up on Green Bay Nation, the Packers season comes to a close the same way it began, with a loss to the Eagles. So now it's on to the offseason and a new chapter for the Green and Gold. All that and more next on the season finale of Green Bay Nation. Hello and welcome to the season finale of Green Bay Nation. I'm Lauren Helmbrecht. Joining me to chat everything Packers, he's a Packers beat writer for the Green Bay Press-Gazette, Ryan Wood, and he's our favorite in the zone reporter and fill-in host, Cameron Ezier. Marcus, we miss you. We hope you're doing all right. Welcome to the season finale. How you guys feeling?
I'm just glad I have something Jordan Love doesn't. That's a go-to guy right here.
I've already been made fun for my one paper when Marcus usually has two or three, so I'm just trying to do my best Marcus impression.
He's taking notes.
I know. He's trying to steal my notes. Don't.
I already did.
I was feeling a little nostalgic, like I was going to miss them, and then they started talking. All right, I'm just kidding.
I have that effect on people.
All right. Well, the Packers season has come to a close, and it was bookended with losses to the Eagles. They had a chance to redeem their loss in Brazil, and instead in the city of brotherly love, it's the same thing. They lose by 12 points. The first time the Packers touched the ball, Keyshawn Nixon fumbled on the kickoff, and Philly took a 7-0 lead within minutes in this game. Realistically, looking into this matchup, it was going to be tight. The Eagles are a good team. Ryan, do you think the Packers could have ever bounced back from that start?
Could have, yes, but that's the operative word here. Would have? Not this team. Look, it was 7 seconds in. I know that in Philly at the Link, they just played the Rocky Balboa music, and everyone was kind of feeling the juice, and then boom, Oren Burks, blast from the past, former Packers linebacker, rocks Keyshawn Nixon. All of a sudden, instead of Jordan Love, it's Jalen Hurts coming out, and no one expected that. There's 59 minutes and 53 seconds left in this game. That should not have been the end-all, be-all, but with this young team, we've seen time and time again, it was no different once it came to the playoffs. They pick every hill to die on. This is the hill to die on. So you just kind of knew at that point, look, this is not something they're going to get over, and they didn't get over it.
Ryan, especially the last 2 weeks, right? You saw what they didn't do, which was do anything offensively, and now you lose a possession, not just to start the game, but you lose a possession because the Eagles are getting the ball out of the halftime break. This is a crazy stat. The Packers were 0-4 entering the postseason when trailing by 7. That isn't going to win you many games, especially on the offensive side of the football when you're really struggling. The Packers also 10-2 when scoring 10 or more points in the first half. So as much as I want to say there wasn't a realistic chance that they could have come back knowing the offense was struggling, I think it's more to say about the offense wasn't doing its job in the first half beyond that Keyshawn Nixon fumble than it is that they never had a chance.
And speaking about the first half offense, there was a time just a few weeks ago where the Packers were scoring on every possession in the first half of the game. In the last month, they've scored 16 points in the first half in those 3 losses. What happened?
I mean, I think it's because you're predicated on the run, or that's what you're known for, and then what happens, you go up against defenses that are better and more apt at stopping the run. In the last 3 weeks, you faced 2 teams in the top 7 in the NFL at preventing the run in yards per carry. In the previous 5 weeks, when you scored 30 or more points, you faced teams like the Saints that were bottom in the NFL in run offense, or especially on the defensive side of the football, at stopping the run. The Packers, they knew their offense was predicated on handing the ball off to Josh Jacobs, and when they couldn't do that anymore, it hurts the pass game, and then it hurts their overall offense.
Every defense they went up against knew that too, and the book was out on this Packers offense down the stretch. Every defense knew that to stop this offense, yeah, it operates through Josh Jacobs, but if you can just keep him to 80 yards, close to 100 yards, keep him under that mark, he's going to get some yards, but don't give up any explosive plays in the passing game. And every defense would come out in that soft 2 shell, 2 deep safeties, and they would dare Jordan Love to hit the underneath throws at an accuracy that got them out of that coverage, and he just never did. They didn't have the field stretchers to beat that soft shell, and every defense just kind of came out and did the same thing. So they're going to have to change something this offseason because the book is out now.
I'd also mention Christian Watson being injured is a factor as well, because the Packers lose that deep ball threat without Watson on the field.
Romeo as well had missed a game in that little stretch of time. So, yeah, when you don't have your big explosive play guys, especially when you're going up against the Eagles team that prevented the most 16-yard receptions in all of the NFL, that's tough.
So the Packers had 4 turnovers in this game, and yet within seconds of the beginning of the fourth quarter, it's a 1-score game. They're only trailing by 6 points. Quickly, Cam and Ryan, why was this one close?
Was it? I mean, if Saquon Barkley busts out that run at the end, it's 29-10, it's a 19-point game. You're not really thinking that it is close or can be close. I don't really think it was as close as maybe you would have thought. I mean, the defense was the reason why. Saquon Barkley had 120 on the ground, but he entered the fourth, and you're like, has he had the game that we expect Saquon Barkley to have had? And also, you prevented A.J. Brown. He was reading books more than he was catching passes. So you prevented the pass game on the defensive side of the football. I think that was the biggest thing, and why it was close, but was it really that close?
It wasn't close at the end, but the Eagles didn't run them off the field either. This was a 1-score game late into the second half, and the reason for that is because the Eagles' offense was rusty, and it showed. This is a good Packers defense, but Jalen Hurts hadn't barely played in a month. He was rusty. 1 catch for A.J. Brown. The Eagles were ripe for the picking if this Packers offense could do anything, because this Eagles offense was not operating at full cylinder. So that's what's going to really stick with this team in the offseason. There was a chance there, and they just couldn't get out of their own way.
It was close because the Packers weren't good, and neither were the Eagles. Yeah. The Eagles weren't great. They did not take the opportunities and run with them. All right, the green and gold have cleaned out their lockers. They finished their final meetings, so now that the season's over, it's already time to start thinking about next year. Coming up on Green Bay Nation, we break down who we believe will finish their time in Titletown and which players might be on their way to 1265.
First, figure out, like I said, the main thing on my mind is figure out, how do we take that step? How do I help the guys take that step? But also, man, we got some guys that, like I said, that our locker room is going to be different. We got some guys due for a contract this year. We don't know what that's going to look like, how that's going to shake up. But I know I'm going to try to get some guys in. So.
Welcome back to Green Bay Nation, our season finale episode. Lauren Helbrecht alongside Cami Zaire and Ryan Wood. That was Josh Jacobs, the former Raider, talking about wanting to bring some guys into the Packers this year. Ryan, what free agents do you think the Packers should target? Should they try to trade for a big name?
I think that this is obviously the draft is in Green Bay, and there's a lot of excitement there. But this is an offseason where Brian Gutekunst needs to be very active on the market, because the last thing this team really needs is more youth. They're already the youngest team in the NFL. You can't get younger than youngest. First call I'd make, hey, Josh Jacobs, he's played with Devontae Adams. Yes, well, I'm going to give you another former teammate, Max Crosby. If I'm Brian Gutekunst, I'm sending a phone call out to Las Vegas. I'm going to say, how much for this elite edge rusher that you could put on an edge, have Rashawn Gary on another edge? Matt LaFleur said in his season-ending press conference that they went into the season wanting to rush traditionally with 4 and drop 7 in coverage, and then they had to go to a lot of blitz packages and they couldn't do that. That's still the vision for this defense. They want to do that. Try to get a Max Crosby. See if you can get home with 4 guys and drop 7 in coverage.
I didn't do the Josh Jacobs to former teammate Max Crosby on purpose, but I like the way you think. Cam, in order to bring in some new, you got to say goodbye to the olds, or in NFL terms, the 24-year-olds who are going into their. So what players do you think won't be on the team next year?
There are a lot of free agents, not as many notable ones in terms of the names that everyone kind of has circled as that's a playmaker that you need to in order to win a Super Bowl, but the depth guys that this Packers team does need in order to have a chance in the playoffs and beyond. I'll go Isaiah McDuffie's out the door. He's 25. Him and Eric Wilson are 2 players at the linebacker position that are free agents or are set to be free agents. And as much as Eric Wilson is older, so maybe you'd want to get rid of him, he's a key special teams piece. And McDuffie and Wilson both make under $2 million. So I think that Isaiah being 25 is more desirable. Also remember, Quay Walker's still under contract and Edgerrin Cooper had one heck of a year. You want him to be more of a playmaker. So I'll say McDuffie out the door. What this team will miss from McDuffie is durability, 33 games over the last 2 seasons.
I find it kind of ironic that we're talking so much defense when it felt like the Packers, what they really needed was offense. But obviously we have to see. Goody will be speaking tomorrow, GM Brian Gutekunst, so we'll hear what he has to say about that. The offseason is here. It's already time for work. The Packers need to improve. When we return on GBN, we're heading to the locker room and hearing from the head coach about what they need to do to make that next step. The Packers lost 3 straight games to end the year. Not a strong showing for a team that had their eyes on the Super Bowl. Despite back-to-back trips to the postseason, the Green and Gold are not satisfied with their performances and know that it's already time to get back to work. It's time to go in the zone.
It's one thing to say it. We got to be about the action, and that's another message I gave to our team is like the expectation is when you leave today and you come back, when we start our off-season program, that you're going to be better, not only physically better, but mentally better than when you left today. I feel like that is a reasonable expectation for everybody, and I expect that. But there's got to be action behind that. You can't just talk about it. You got to go do it, and you got to put the work in, bottom line.
We know what it takes, we just got to, be fundamentally sound, protect each other, protect the team, protect the ball, little things like that. We know what it takes, and, we just got to find ways to clean that up and be better for the team.
As a team, we need to wake up. I mean, how many times do we have to just, not everyone talks about how we're just not okay with just making the playoffs, but we have yet to, walk the walk. So going forward, I'm gonna take on a little bit more of a leadership role and try to get people on the same wavelength that I'm on.
All right, time now for Q&A with Green Bay. What is the biggest improvement that you need to see from this Packers team, this offense, to believe that words are not only words and they are about the action?
I think I'm going to talk personnel. When I said that my first call this offseason would be the Raiders for Max Crosby, that's not their biggest need. That's number 2 on my list. Their biggest need, when you watch the NFC playoffs this week, you're going to see that whenever Jared Goff needs it, he can go to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jane Daniels can go to Terry McLaurin. You look at each of these quarterbacks that have made it to the playoffs, they've got their matchup beater that they can go to at any point. There's a lot of good with this Packers receiving depth chart, the key word being depth, and you need that to weather a season. But it's the top-end talent. It's that guy, that Justin Jefferson, that Cooper Kupp. When you need it in a big situation against a tough defense late in the season, you can have confidence, can beat that matchup, and you can go to that guy. It's not to take the pressure off Jordan Love. He's got to be better too, absolutely. But he's still a young, developing quarterback. The best way to help him is by helping him with having those matchup guys that can win their one-on-ones.
And Ryan, on the defensive side of the football, they need a cover corner if Jair Alexander can't be healthy. Because although Carrington Valentine can do what he does, over the last 4 weeks where he had that, the fumble recovery, or he had the forced fumble and he had the pair of interceptions, he's still a 7th-round pick. You need a guy with experience. You need a guy to lead the team. On top of that, beat the good teams. It's as easy as that. I wish that there was a better answer, but beat the good teams.
All right, don't forget that Cam's Corners Challenge runs all the way through the end of January. You might have already won your fantasy football league, but there's still more winning to be done. You have a chance at $2,500 hotel monthly package prize courtesy of the Legacy Hotel. All you got to do is scan that code on your screen. When we come back on the season finale of Green Bay Nation, it's time for Challenge or No Challengers presented by Bayside Machine Corporation. Will Cam and Ryan agree with my predictions, or will the flags be thrown? That is next. It's time now for Challenge or No Challenge presented by Bayside Machine Corporation. You know the rules by now. The guys, if they agree, nothing happens. If they don't, the flags hit the floor. Since the Packers are done for the year, we're talking about next year. That work for you guys?
Perfect, good.
Green Bay wins 11 games this season, and they didn't do their best work, but the Vikings and the Lions are really good. Challenge or No Challenge, the Packers win 11 next year.
I think the Packers do win 11. I've switched flags. These are usually Ryan's flags, and I know that you often don't throw on the first try, but in all honesty, I do think that the Packers, they get to 11 wins. The Vikings, we just saw, pretty fraudulent team with how they played in the postseason, so I don't think they're as good as the Packers.
I'm kind of enjoying how Red feels right now. It's a change. Are you asking if they get to 11 or more than 11?
I said get 2. Get 2.
I think they win more than 11 games next year, so I will not throw my red flag.
All right, so Jordan Love throws 3 picks in their final game of the season. That put him all the way up to 14 interceptions this year to just 25 touchdowns. Challenge or no challenge, Love has a better TD to interception ratio next season.
100% better. In the offseason, if he continues to progress, he will have a better year. So I do think the TD numbers go up, INT numbers go down.
It's going to help with whatever receiver they bring in too. So yeah, it'll be better.
All right, I was hoping some flags would fly. Maybe on this one. Keyshawn Nixon, that doesn't count. Keyshawn Nixon told reporters when he was cleaning out his locker he doesn't want to be a kick returner anymore. Matt LaFleur was told that. He said, oh, we haven't had that conversation. Challenge or no challenge, Nixon no longer the kick returner.
Can I keep throwing the
flags?
flags?
The flags are flowing.
Yes, Keyshawn Nixon, he will be the kick returner. I think he said that based off of recency bias, which is that he fumbled, so he wasn't too happy. He will be the kick returner.
That's worth a 3-flag challenge.
There we go.
First of all time. Here's why. He doesn't want to be a kick returner because he's CB1, and CB1 doesn't do that. Well, what happens if you give in here, and then all of a sudden he's CB1, and CB1 doesn't tackle because he's CB1. You want to pick off passes. You can't let that slippery slope even get started. He's also a 2-time All-Pro kickoff returner. That matters. And no, he's going to be returning kicks.
I'd say recency bias, but also the rule change. He really did not like the rule change, but Matt LaFleur didn't seem very open to that conversation. All right, when we come back, it's time to wrap up the season of Green Bay Nation. We're getting green and bold, talking about Super Bowl champs. That's next on the show. All right, this is it on Green Bay Nation. We're wrapping up the season by getting green and bold. As I said, and as you know, the Packers are no longer playing, but there is still some football to be had. Who do you have winning Super Bowl 59?
Oh, I don't want to say this team. I really don't want to say this team, but I'm going to say this team. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. Until they don't do it, then I'm going to predict that they are going to do it. And if I predict they're going to do it and then jinx them and they don't do it, then I'll be happy. So it's kind of a two-parter there. But I'm going the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid. It's just too much.
The NFL right now has all the suspense of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick at the top of their game in New England. I have a personal rule that I will not break. So long as Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, I will not bet against Patrick Mahomes winning the Super Bowl. It's worked out pretty well for me last year. My preseason picks were Chiefs over Niners. This year, it was Chiefs over Lions. That's my Super Bowl because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes.
All right, you set me up pretty well for that. I don't want another AFC champ. So I'm taking the other team Ryan just said. I'm going to pick the Lions. I know Packers fans won't really like this, but we've all watched the Lions this season. They have a certain grit about them that I really think that they could do it. So I have the Lions winning Super Bowl 59. All right, Cam, you're newish here, but Ryan knows what happens now. It's time for my annual punny gift to close the season. This year, I'm presenting you both with Lauren's cheesy convos. All the different funny things that I've said throughout the season. I want to give you each one. And Marcus, don't worry. We have one waiting for you when I get to see you again. Thanks again for another great season of Green Bay Nation. This is our season finale. And I'm just wrapping it up. I really appreciate all the work that you've done. As most of you don't know, Cam is behind the scenes. He's in my ear every show today. He's out here. Ryan, you come for 3 seasons with me. We've had such a great time covering this team. And Marcus, again, we're giving you a shout out. We hope you feel better. But that'll do it for this edition and this season of Green Bay Nation. For Cameron Nazaire, Ryan Wood, and the Cheese, I'm Lauren Helmbrecht. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you again next football season.